Hello, all Business Central folks. So, today we'll be talking about how you replicate, which means copy your data from on premise to Business Central SaaS. Um, we have done a similar video in the past, but that was from the matching version. This one is from the different version. Now, what is the difference? We all understand that Business Central Cloud or Business Central SaaS will always be on the latest or latest minus one version because you get some time to upgrade it. So when you upgrade or replicate your data, which is copy your data from on-premise to SaaS, there are some different steps if you are not on the same version on-prem. So in this particular video, we'll talk about what are those steps and how you execute them. The steps in this video are applicable if you are on Business Central 15 till Business Central 25. I know Business Central 25 is not yet out, but believe me, these steps will remain same even if you are on Business Central 25. But after Business Central 25, there is some changes coming and we might talk about it in the future. I'll surely add a video link here on the top in the recording, which talks about what changes are coming, which is already there in the YouTube channel about the jump version in the upgrade playlist. So for this demo, what I've done is I've created a Business Central 19 on-prem environment with a small pertinent extension. The steps remain same. If you're using an ISV, the only condition is same ISV should exist in cloud as it is on-prem. Now I've heard comments that, oh, you took a very simple PTE, make it complex. Guys, understand it. If you have a complex PTE that you would like to share with me, I'd be happy to, but I don't have time to kind of build a complex PTE to showcase these demos. At the end of the day, even if it's a simple ISV or simple PTE or a complex PTE, at the end of the day, what matters is how many tables are there and how many table extensions are there, because that's the only object set in your extension where data is retained, and that's what is going to be replicated from on-premise to SaaS. So before getting into it, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel and let's get into it. Okay, so let's get into it. Here is my on-premise server and I should also have my cloud environment up. So in my cloud environment, there's a environment called replicate demo, and in the replicate demo there is only two company, Cronus USA and my company. We'll replicate a on-premise environment into it, and this is, let's check, this is okay, no, help and support, always get confused about it. This is on version 24.1 and my on-premise environment is this, which is on Business Central 19. Let's quickly check that, help and support, and you notice that this is on some version of 19.0 or 19.6, sorry. In this particular environment, because 19 did not have this option, you can see that there are three companies, Cronus USA, Demo, and Second. What we'll do, we'll replicate two companies there. From a PTE perspective, I have one extension. So let's get comfortable with the environment. And others are Microsoft extension. So if you see, there is a demo upgrade extension, which also has some data on the customer table. There are two fields, one have data and one is kind of blank, called demo code and demo decimal and demo number. The demo code contains the customer code. The similar kind of thing is available on the vendors. There's a demo code and demo number there, so it remains as it is. Okay, and then there is a GL entry copy, which is called as GL entry, and this have the copy of the data of GL entry as it is, simple plain copy. So the first thing that you need to do is whatever extensions you have in your on-premise environment, which we have only one, which is a non-Microsoft extension, make sure that is also installed in your cloud version. So let's get into our extension management and let's choose to upload an extension. Okay, we are here, and let me just drag this into my files. Yeah. Okay. I don't know where I kept it. Nice. So let's see. Where is the default path? Or maybe it's in my VS Code somewhere. Okay, here it is. So let's do a reveal in File Explorer. Let's minimize this, and I'll just drag this in here. Okay, so I have the same exact version of the extension getting deployed on my cloud environment. Now remember, when you are going from on-premise to SaaS, you don't have to change your GUID extension GUID, because I've heard those kind of questions. Your extension GUID remains same, and the reason why it is important is because that GUID, or extension app ID, which is this field, is used in the objects that you're creating against it and the fields that you have created in using table extensions, right? So don't change your GUID if you're going there, because all these fields will get that GUID that is assigned to your extension, and so in the similar way tables. So you don't have to change your GUID. The GUID should remain same. And the reason I did not said that it's an upgrade demo, I said it's a replicate or a copy demo, is because literally your data gets copied from your on-premise environment to your SaaS environment. Okay, so it's still in progress, but this should be in any moment. This should not take some time. This should come, hopefully. You can have a higher version of your extension if needed, but the extension GUID should remain same. There should not be any destructive changes, and I know what failed, that I don't have a permission, which is not mandatory on-prem, but it is mandatory on SaaS. So let me create a generate permission set of an AL object, and let's do this. Oh yeah. So now, as I made the change and that introduced the generate permissions here, I'll just go in and change the version of it to 1.0.0.1 and do a build. Now here is the file. So let me take this file and get back in this page and try to upload the extension. All right. So first thing, if you are having trouble, make sure that you have permissions. I'm just trying to make sure that I cover all the possible errors that you might see. So your extension, PTE specifically, should have the permission file or permission attached to your extension. That's a mandate when you're installing an extension on cloud. In a moment, it should get installed. Okay. So our database name behind the scene is called replicate database. We'll utilize this, and let's get into it, I guess. We don't have to wait for this to be installed. It still will take some time. It should be over any moment. So if you have ISVs in your environment that you're using on-prem, make sure those ISVs are installed in your cloud from the marketplace, because the ISV's data will only come forward if they are also available in the cloud. If they're not, then your data will not be copied or replicated to your Business Central SaaS. Now, while doing this, what you actually do, and let me just make this done. So let's me pause this. Okay, so the extension is published. Great. Hopefully there is no data in this, as there's no new company will be created, so no worries about it. Okay, so we are good there. So make sure that the extension that you are using on-prem are also available on SaaS. Let's get into it. So what we did, let's repeat the same step. Open the cloud migration manage setup. Okay, once you open that, it pops up a wizard where you accept the terms and conditions, go next, choose the product. Now here you choose Business Central. Now there are two options in Business Central: Business Central current version, which is version 24 on cloud, and Business Central earlier version. Now if you are in version 24 cumulative but with 1, 0, it doesn't matter. In that case, you choose this. But if you are on a major version which is lower than the current version, then you choose this. It can be 23, 22, 21, 20, or 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. Choose this option, the earlier version. Click OK. That pops up the wizard where you have selected the product. Then the SQL configuration, where is your server. You might have your database on Azure. If that's the case, then choose this. If your database is locally hosted on your local SQL server, then choose SQL Server. Then we'll have to build the SQL connection string. Hover over this and you will see this. Now remember this because people do a little bit mistake here. It seems it starts with the colon, and sorry, I should not have clicked on it, but it actually starts from the word server. So just copy this string as it is and paste it somewhere on a notepad or somewhere, wherever you want. I'm just utilizing this. Let me zoom this in so that we all can see it. It first needs your server name, and if you have an instance, specify the instance name. So localhost, your database name, just go to your SQL server, pick up your database name, copy this, and paste it here. If there are spaces, use double quotes. The user ID. Now you cannot run the cloud replication with the Windows authentication. So you'll have to create a username password authentication on your SQL server. I have created one called SaaS user. So I'll just copy this. Okay. And for the demo, I'll show you the password. I'll remove this user after a while, but this is my password. So now I'll copy this whole string as it is, and we'll try to paste it in there to see what happens. Okay, let's do that. So as soon as I do that, I'll have to click next. Once I click next, it'll verify that the string that I have specified is valid or not. Now it understood it, but it should not have. But remember that this user should have permission to your database, which is this. And you should be DB owner on that database, this particular user. Now it's not about your user ID, it's about the user ID that you're using for replication or copying your data to SaaS. Make sure you come to user mapping tab, choose your database name, click the map, make sure it is DB owner and click OK. Otherwise you'll end up with error messages. Once you are here, it tells you to download the self hosted runtime key integration setup. Come to this page. I normally prefer the latest version that's available, which in this case seems 8909.1. Click on it, download it. To save time, I have already downloaded the product. I haven't installed it, but the next step is to install the product. So let's get into downloads and let's install that product. Now while installing this product, it kind of brings you, it's a pretty simple installation, but it gives you capability to connect your data to your cloud environment, to your on-prem environment. These both get connected using Microsoft technology, and that's how your data get copied. So you accept it, you click next, you choose install, and as any other product, it just gets installed and it pops up a window. So we'll wait for that. Now this is the product that's needed. I always prefer to utilize the latest version that's available because I'm pretty sure Microsoft is making changes into it and things are changing, right? So always try to use it, the latest one. Make sure once your cloud replication is completed that you uninstall it. It takes a good amount of space on your system. So once your replication is done, make sure that you remove this product from your system. So we'll wait for it, and for the time being, I'll pause the video. Okay, so the installation is completed. Let's click the finish button. Once we do that, it pops up a window. Come back here and read. You installed it. Now use the authentication key below to set up your runtime. So this is the authentication key. Let's copy this. Come back to that window, paste it as it is, and then click register. Once you click register, it kind of brings that connection into in your environment, in your on-prem environment, and have a connection set to your current environment, to your SQL server, to your cloud environment. Once everything is done, what it tells you is to, let's see, finish. Okay. Okay, so it's now connecting to the cloud service. It's initializing the node component, and as it says, it may take some time. Once all this is done, it says choose next to verify that the connection is working. So you can't kind of bypass this. You will have to make sure that the connection is set and it is able to kind of talk to your Business Central. Okay, I'll not close it. Let's click next. Now it's verifying that whatever you did is done correctly or not. Are you using the same authentication key? And is the configuration done correctly? Is your SQL credentials are working? So on and so forth. And if there is any error, it'll pop up those error messages on your screen. Okay, so it's trying to build that connection to your local SQL server. Remember, you don't need your BC servers on-prem running at this moment because nothing is happening from BC. Everything is getting copied directly from your SQL server. So I can literally come here and stop my service because there is nothing happening from a BC perspective. And that's the reason I said it's a replication of your data or copying your data from your on-premise environment to your cloud or SaaS environment. So it's a direct SQL connection, which have its own advantage that it copies your data faster because it's SQL copying. And that's the reason you should never change your GUID of your extension, because the names of the table that exists in cloud and on prem will be matched based on the SQL table naming convention. And while this is happening, let me explain you what that means while this is work in progress. So starting Business Central, what happened is every table gets a GUID, which is the GUID of that particular table. Or the extension that from where it is coming from. So you see all these GUIDs after the table name. These are the GUID of the extension from where these table come from. When we created the custom table or table extension on the customer table, now in the latest version of Business Central, it creates an one single extension table for each. So if you look at it here, let's wait for it. It's customer, and okay, maybe I'll have to do the $customer to reduce the responses because it looks for that pattern. Okay, it should reduce my count here. So what you can see, there's an actual table, and then there is this table which have the field SDH demo code and SDH demo number. Now, if you are looking from BC24, this design may change a little bit, but because I'm on BC19, the design is a little bit different. But this is the GUID of my extension, B19. So if you look in VS Code, this is my extension GUID. And that's the reason you need to have the same extension GUID. Now, coming back here, you choose the companies that you want to copy. You can choose all the companies, it's up to you, but because I already have a Cronus USA and it doesn't make any sense, it's a demo purpose, I'm just choosing the two companies. That's not it. Even if you miss something, or if you have a long list of companies, you might do it in shifts. Okay, so you might choose 5 first, and then you are able to choose other companies later on. I choose both the companies and click next, or maybe let's go back. Only choose one company, demo company. Go next, finish it. As soon as you finish the wizard, it'll ask you to pop up a new page where the cloud migration is actually happening, or where things are actually happening. Okay, let's pop that up. So if you look at it, there are certain things happening. It is creating companies right now. This is the important field that you need to keep an eye on. So right now what's happening, the company that I have selected, and that can be one company or multiple companies, those companies are being created in my cloud environment. And I can always check from my settings, what is the status of that company. So right now, if you look at it, the demo company is being set up. It's not yet set up. My company was already there, Cronus USA was already there, and I only chose one company out of the three that I had my on-prem environment. So let's wait for it. You can always refresh the status here to see everything is going fine or not, but you cannot proceed until the company creation succeeds. Make sure that your company selection is within limit. Don't go select if you have 50, 60 companies, which is rare, but if you have those, don't choose 60 companies in one go. It can be time consuming process of company creation. So only choose as you go along, right? So the demo company is still being created. We are seeing it here. The reason I'm going into this, my settings, is this is not reflected here until unless the company has been set up completely. So if you have to check the status, you always go into my settings and see here what is the company status. It's completed. And the same is reflected here on your cloud migration management. They're ready for replication. Now I'll walk you around this window in a while, but right now table successful is 0, company is under replication 1, the total companies in my on-prem are 3. Now I'll run the data replication. It says, do you want to start the replication? And I say yes. A new line will get added into the migration log, which will tell you that the migration is in progress. The status is changed to migration in process, and this new line is created. That's the first action. Run data update, we'll talk about it in a while. Refresh status is used to refresh the status of the migration to see what's happening. Then the complete migration is the last thing that we'll be doing, so we'll see it in a while. Manage custom table. This is actually, if you look at it here, it says manage custom table mapping for migration. The functionality can be used to rename the table during replication or a split an on-prem table with customization to the main table and table extension. We'll have to do a different video if you would like to kind of learn how to do this in a while. In a separate video, that's a complete different discussion. Define user mapping. Now understand, in on-prem, you're using your username and password. Those username and your Windows authentication or username password, that data does not get replicated to your Business Central SaaS or cloud. And there's a reason about it, and we'll talk about it. To make a link between your on-premise user to your SaaS new account, you open up this page and you define the mapping against a on-prem user to the cloud user, and that's how it kind of updates all those settings. Diagnostic run is just to test that everything is working fine or not. Under more options, let's see what is there. Reset cloud data. If you want to kind of reset whatever the cloud tenant in data that has been copied, you can use this. Runtime key, we saw it on the wizard, we don't need it now. If for some reason you have to reset your cloud migration, the wizard that we utilize, which is this, then you need to reset the runtime key. You can do that with this, and that will generate a new runtime key. Check for updates, just checks for update for this tool. Companies to replicate, we'll use this option because we also have to choose the other company. Repair companion table record. Now this is a very important step that you should always run when you are replicating from on-prem to SaaS. Just make sure that your table extension data is visible on pages and things like that, because for some reason it doesn't work directly in some cases. We have set up the cloud migration. Sanitize table. Now that's a pretty cool step. I prefer to use it on-prem before going to SaaS. And this is nothing new, but this was introduced in NAV 2009 or prior versions, where because you had a way to copy data from Microsoft Excel directly into Dynamics NAV, it used to add line feed, character feed, or other junk characters into your data when you are importing or copying it from Excel and pasting it into Dynamics NAV. Now that data was readable in pre-2013 era, but as soon as the RTC was announced, which is 2013 and higher, the .NET client back then did not support this, and when you saw those record in your client, the junk characters were removed. But that causes problem in your cloud replication. So there is a PowerShell command which is invoke nav synchronizing field that you should be running on your on-prem environment, um, so that that data is cleaned up before you start replicating. But it seems that option is also available here. um, you may end up with error messages, and the problem once you are in SaaS is there is no way to kind of fix it. So I would prefer you do it on prem before you run it. It's a PowerShell command called invoke nav synchronizing fields. New UI is what you're seeing. The old UI is a little bit different. Okay. Change how the data is replicated, which is just defining the table mapping, and we'll see it maybe in a separate video. And then these are all the options that you're seeing. Let's see, is there no progress? Let's refresh it. Okay, still taking some time. If it is directly copying from my SQL, there should be some progress here. So let's see what's happening here. So in my activity monitor, when I look at it, I don't see much other than some processor time being utilized, but there is something happening. On some code is running called base table, base SQL table name, source table name, and destination table. So something is happening. It might be, not might be, it's building the table mapping between your on-prem and SaaS environment, and you'll be able to see as we go through into it. So something is happening. Let's wait for a while. You should be seeing some progress here any moment. Let's see. Let me refresh this. Now, how Microsoft does it? This is not under the hood, but if you go a little bit deep into this database where you have connected it, there are some new tables and stored procedures which are created to achieve this. And those tables and stored procedures are used to copy the data from your on-prem to SaaS. Now, this table called replicate tables was never a NAV or a BC table on premise, right? But this table kind of holds the data that tells you the source table name, the destination table name, and notice the GUID. The GUID is important. The GUID tells that, oh, the same extension exists, and then there are other tables that are part of it. Okay, so this is happening right now. So we'll wait for it. And this is not the only table, just for the understanding perspective. There are other things that are part of it. Okay, so if you just filter it for IC, let's see, $IC, hopefully this finds something. Okay, there's a replication, there's a replication batch, there's a partition, and a replication table. All these gets created when you configure your this integration runtime setup. This automatically creates those into your local SQL server so that you can talk to your Business Central cloud. Okay, let's refresh this. Now remember, here you see the status of it. Then you also see how many tables are successful and how many tables are failed. And as soon as it starts running, you see that it was able to count how many tables it have to copy, which is 823 tables. So there are 823 tables in your cloud, which are also available in your on-prem just by the name. If the name doesn't match, it'll show you a less number of tables. When you click on it, it shows you which tables it's referring to and what is the status of that particular table, right? So some of these might be running at this moment. If not, we'll start any moment. And just copy the data straightforward from your on-premise to your Business Central cloud environment. Let's do a refresh. Okay, still seems to be running. Nothing moving here at this moment. I'll pause the video for a while to see how it moves. Okay, it seems to be started and it says 5 tables are done. And believe me, it never came to one. Oh, it says 22 tables are done. As you see, the number is increasing drastically so quickly. And let's focus on this. So here it says the table name, the status, and then it tells you if there is a message. Now this is not able to get the record count, but that's okay. But if you come down here, there might be some with some other status. So let's see. Let's filter it out. Let's see, is there a warning? Okay. Sorry, I should have chose warning. Okay. There are some warning. Now what it says, the warning is the table does not exist in the local instance. Now remember this. When we started the replication process, we started it from the cloud. So the primary list of tables that it need to copy data from is the tables which are available in cloud, not on-prem. Okay, and that's the reason I said that your extension should be exactly same, and I'm talking about non-Microsoft extension, as they are on premise. Either it's an ISV or your pertinent extension. Now when you see this, don't worry about it, because I can very clearly see that it's a GP1099 box mapping table, which surely not available in my on-prem because I did not have the GP extension installed on my on-prem environment. And that's okay, because this table does not exist in your on-premise environment and not be able to copy that. Any table which had the same name on-premise and cloud, only those table will be in progress or success. Okay, so if you see, all these tables are successful, and there will be some which are in progress at this moment. Hopefully there are some, and it is not completed. It seems completed. Okay, let's see, is there anything failed, or is there not started? So you see, there's nothing failed and everything is started. So everything seems successful. There's nothing in progress. So if I go back, I should be able to see that, okay, it says, let's refresh this. This number should change as I'm refreshing it. It doesn't. But don't worry, this is the table count that's being replicated, not this one. That should be updated with the flow field, but for some reason it's not. Okay. But now what about the second company? Because you might have 20 different companies. What you can do, come back here, choose select companies to replicate, and then choose your other company. You can uncheck this because this is already replicated, right? And you choose the second company. Read here, if you have selected a company that does not exist in Business Central, it will automatically be created for you, and this may take a few minutes. So let's click OK. Company selection change on your next migration. Notice that the status automatically changed to creating companies, which again, where I can see from here that my second company will be started to be creating. Now it will take its own time. So if you have quite a few companies, split your replication company by company, or maybe a subset of companies. And the factor that I would say you should consider is the database or the company size, which you can see in the company selection window. So when you open the company selection window, let's try to open this again. You'll notice that there is the estimated size in GB. Try to group your companies based on the size GB so that you can then kind of make different pieces of it and kind of do it staged or staggered rather than doing it all together in one go. So right now it's creating company, but let's come back to one thing that we talked about in the earlier part, which is about defined user mapping. There are certain tables which does not get replicated to SaaS, and how system understand it is in your tables, as in the Microsoft table, more or less. Let's look at it here, or maybe look at the base application. Let's look at product group search. Okay, maybe P is bigger. Okay, P or a group. Oh, maybe I'll to do star. Okay, and this is just an example, but there's nothing on this. Sorry, bad example. Okay, let me see if I find something. Let's look at the user table. Okay, where is the user table? Here. Microsoft starting BC14 or prior. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure BC14 had this. Added a new property on your tables called replicate data. Now, if this property is set to false, those table data will never be replicated to cloud or SaaS. So if your customer says, oh, I don't see my changelog entries, guess what? Changelog entry is also one of the table which is not supposed to be replicated to SaaS. Any guesses? Because there is a lot of data into changelog entries, and Microsoft is just doing a service for you because it's a lot of data that need to be copied, which will surely take time. Additionally, it'll slow down your process because not the process, but it'll reduce the amount of space that you have into your system. In cloud, you have a limited space, right? So now what it says, ready for replication. Let's go back here. Let's see, is my company ready? And if you notice, second company is completed. What I can do now, I can just click on run data replication, start it, and start doing the same thing again. I'll go back into NAV or BC on premise, build that list, sync that list into your Business Central Cloud, do the mapping of those tables. Are they available or not? And if yes, then we'll start the replication. So I'll give it some time. I'll take its own time. Okay. In the meantime, let's come back here. So if you don't see data replicated to cloud for certain tables, I would highly encourage come back to this area into your extension and see what is the replicate data property set to. Oh, there is a replicate data true. I was thinking something else, maybe. Sorry, my bad. But the other table that you might be interested in is I guess I can see it here. Record links. Record link is one of the other table that does not get replicated to SaaS. So anytime a customer says, oh, I cannot see my data getting copied into my Business Central, make sure that you check, is it set to replicate data true or not. If it is set to false, then it'll not get replicated. The default value of that is replicate data to true. So if it is not specified, it considered that table to be replicated. So now I'm just refreshing it to see when the process starts. If you look at it here on the company status, it says there is one company under replication. One has already been replicated, and you have total of 3 companies in your on-premise environment. It's just a replication or status of it here. So let's wait for it. Let's wait for to kick it off. So I'll pause the video. We'll see as it starts. Okay, sorry, the status update happened a little bit late, but now if you notice that the successful number has been updated and the table remaining is also being updated. So if you come back here, you'll notice that the tables are being successful, but again you can check what has been has a warning and what has failed. Nothing has failed for sure, but just to see again the similar kind of error that the table does not exist in the local instance, which means these are coming from an extension which are not available on your on-premise, but they will available in SaaS. So don't just leave it. Keep attention to it, especially on the GUID, to see is there custom GUID or an ISV that you have not considered to be installed or forgot to install on your cloud environment, because it's all about the same tables here. Now let's refresh this, and it says ready for replication and status changed to completed. Okay, now once everything is done, you have replicated whatever you wanted to replicate. I don't think you will see the company here. The last step, because you are coming from a prior version, not the exact version that you have in your cloud environment, what you have to do is you have to, at the end of everything, run the data upgrade. If you have more company to bring, don't run this. This is the last step that you should be running here. Before that, let's look into the user mapping page. Here it tells you that you're on premise. I just have one user and I can link it to my cloud user. Once you do that, it'll update the tables. Okay. So it'll map an on-premise user to an update user-specific open transactional data. So if you have a sales order which is still open and there is a user ID signed like this on your on-premise, it'll update it to the new user ID which is on the cloud. Okay, so you can do okay, and let's not do it in my case because I just have one user, but you can define, if you have more users, you will see more into this list. Okay, so I'm leaving it. So let's do the run data upgrade. As soon as you click on this button, you will lose access to the environment when you are starting the upgrade process. You can track the process and manage environment at Business Central Admin Center. So you'll not be able to access this environment as soon as I click yes. So let's do yes, and it has been scheduled, and you can check the status in your admin center inside operations, I guess. Let's see, either operations or telemetry. Okay, let's refresh it. It'll go and show me what are the operations that's being executed on my environment, which is replicate demo. So once I'm here, I'm looking at all the environments and it'll show me whatever has been changed or happening on between in last 7 days. So if you look at it, this is saying data upgrade and it is running. You can't access this environment. This is completely not accessible at this moment. Even if you look at the environment section, you will see that the state is updating. Now what's happening? Why you have to run this? And why we did not run it when we came from the same exact version? Now, if you remember, what happens is Microsoft is making changes into how data is stored in Business Central in every version, right? Either there is a new way or new table or a new schema that's available. When the replication happens, it just copies the same data that is available in on-prem and bring the same data to Business Central SaaS. But because you are not on the same version on-prem, you surely are missing an upgrade step, which takes care or handles the data movement or data update, which is required from the version that you are upgrading from on-prem to the latest version on Business Central SaaS. So that's the reason that you have to make sure that the data upgrade is ran, so that any upgrade step which was skipped by us because we replicated from a prior version is executed. Remember this, don't skip this step. You will end up with problems if you skip it. And that's the reason I always recommend you to upgrade to latest version on prem before replicating or copying your data into cloud, because then you're not into your operation page and waiting for this to be completed, and it takes time. Based on how old version you are coming from, it'll take its own time. It says active right now, but let's come here, and this happened faster because I'm just utilizing the Cronus data. There's nothing much into my system. There is one single PTE, so nothing much into it. But now my environment should be accessible at this moment. Let's see the refresh. So the data upgrade step is very, very important before you move into it. Now, what other people see at this point? Once the replication is over, data upgrade is over, everything is done, it says upgrade completed successfully, and then they go into permissions page or any other page for that matter, or where there is a way to kind of how system tracks it. What happens in the permissions app pages, you only see one called intelligent cloud, and you're like, oh, I had 200s of permission. Remember this, that it automatically applies a filter called intelligent cloud, not just here, in different areas in application like users page and all. So if you don't see it, that means you did run the data replication, you did run the data upgrade, but you forgot to complete the migration. The way Microsoft runs the data replication is, as soon as you start the replication, it automatically applies a filter on different pages with setting intelligent cloud. So don't rush into it. You need to do the complete migration, which will require you to accept that it's done, and then you have to disable the cloud migration. As soon as I disable my cloud migration, all the play pages where that filter was applied will be automatically removed, and you will be able to see all your data that's there. Now I forgot one step which I should have ran, of companion table, but make sure to run this. So what you have to do, you have to run the data replication. If you are, let's say, replicating cloud in multiple sets, you don't have to choose all the company in one go. You can just do it piece by piece. And then once all the companies are done, you have to run the data upgrade. To check or update the status, you can click refresh update. Once everything is done, or sorry, before that, you also need to do the define user mapping, which updates your on-prem user ID to your cloud user ID. Then make sure that you repair the companion table. It seems I can still run it. It just makes sure that your table extension data is visible. I don't have to run it, but you can also seems to have possibility to sanitize the data. Now you need to choose a company where you want to sanitize. Whatever the table ID is where there may have an issue, click this and click on sanitize data. It just goes, scans the data into that table, and if there are errors, it'll pop up here. But don't do it here, do it in your on-premise environment by using PowerShell. Once all is done, you have completed the migration, accept the terms, and close the cloud migration. Let's go back to the same page, which is my permissions page. Okay, in my permission set, that filter is gone. And same for any other area, application area into the system. Let's go ahead and see some data get copied into demo company or not. Remember, in our custom extension, we had a two fields on customers and vendor table, and they were also available on the page using our extension. So if everything would have come forward, I would be able to see the data that I have in my customer or vendor schema. So let's open customer list. Let's move toward end, and I see that I have the demo code data as available as it was. I should also be able to search SDH GL entries. They should show all the data that was part of my on-premise environment, and so on and so forth. In the same way, every data gets copied from your on-premise to SaaS. Just remember the sequence of steps, because that's important. So what do you have to do? You have to choose a prior version. If you're doing it from the prior version, you have to generate your connection string, which needs a username password, or sorry, a SQL authentication user, and make sure that that user have DBO permission on your database that you are replicating. Then install the integration runtime key, set up your integration runtime. If you have more companies, split them into different parts, and then choose them one set at a time and start replication. The first step is creating companies, which happens automatically. You have to wait for it. Once that is done, then you start running data replication, which copies your data from your on-premise environment to your cloud environment if the table ID is a match, or table name is a match, and the field name is a match. Once that is done, you will go to the select companies to replicate, choose your other companies which are not yet replicated, and once all your companies are replicated, you will update the user mapping into the system, and then you will repair the companion table, and last but not least is you complete the you run the data upgrade process, which runs all the upgrade step which are between your on-prem source version to the target version. If you see a warning in the cloud migration wizard, as we saw in those table status, don't worry, it's just referring that table does not exist on-prem, which is available on Business Central SaaS. Hopefully, I was able to answer all your questions around it. If not, you know the drill. Add it into the comment section and I'll surely try to answer your questions. And you know the drill. If you like the content, hit the like button. If you think you learned something new and you would like to share it with someone who is kind of struggling with it, share this video with your friends and colleagues. Do subscribe to the channel, as I said in the beginning. It helps us to understand how we are doing and what kind of videos you are liking. Please make sure to add comments to the video. And I'll see you sooner than later into the next video. Till then, keep learning and keep sharing. Thank you. Have a great day.